американский чувак готовит еду.
Hi, my name is Jesse and I'm an American living in Russia. So we're going to do a series on trying to make traditional American recipes in Russia. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to locate or find the exact same ingredients that I'm used to procuring in the States. So that's sort of the challenge here, is coming up with unique or inventive ways to produce the same dishes, right? But finding them in Russian markets. So Thanksgiving is coming soon, and this is a traditional American holiday. So we figured we'd start our pilot episode by cooking Thanksgiving dinner. So what is Thanksgiving, by the way? I'm glad you asked. It's a celebration of the first feast held by pilgrim settlers somewhere in the 17th century. They weren't really able to farm, hunt, or cook for themselves, as the story goes, but they were helped by the local Native American population who showed them some of the local fare. Now, the turkey is native to the Americas, and even more importantly, it's a very stupid bird. This may be apocryphal, but as far as I'm aware, turkeys are the stupidest or dumbest of domesticated animals. When it rains, they're supposed to be kept inside because they'll stick their heads up and actually drown from the rainwater. I choose to believe this is true. Thanksgiving is actually on a different day every year, and I believe that it's on the 23rd of November this year. I believe the official rule is the third Thursday of the month. Why, I'm not quite sure. So the first step in preparation is making the stuffing. Stuffing is essentially bread cubes, which you spice and saute and then shove inside of the ass of the turkey, cook the turkey, and when it's done, you put your hand back in, take it out, and eat it. It's delicious. The first ingredient in stuffing is bread, onion, celery, sage leaves, mushrooms, apple, and walnuts. And now let's prepare it. So we're going to take the bread and cube it. So you want to remove some of the crust, but it doesn't have to be perfect, don't worry about it. And then we're going to take it and cut it into cubes about this large. The best bread for stuffing is about day-old bread, so you want it to be a little bit stale or dry if possible. And next we're going to chop an onion. And so while you're preparing this, you can put the butter on a pan over medium-low heat to melt it, and we'll saute this onion over medium-high heat. And next we'll chop the celery. So a good handful like this is about all you need. And mushrooms. Same thing, we want to cut the mushrooms into about the same size pieces as the celery. When the onions are in the pan and they become translucent, about 4 to 5 minutes, you can go ahead and throw in the mushrooms and the celery. And we're going to saute those together for about, let's say about 3 or 4 minutes. Go ahead and take a hefty pinch of sage and just sprinkle that into the pan. And while that's finishing cooking, you're going to take a good sized handful of walnuts and chop them, and do the same thing with about 1/2 of a good sized apple. We're going to chop that into about the same size pieces as our mushrooms. I actually prefer to add about a handful of raisins to the stuffing. If you're not into that, don't worry about it. It's not essential to the recipe. And the next step is, so now that the ingredients in the pan have done sauteing, you can take this and add it to the bread in the bowl. So you want to add about 1/4 of the total in the pan, mix it up with your hand, and then do this about 2 more times until all of the pan mixture is thoroughly introduced into the bowl. When you have this, you can take your apples, walnuts, and optional raisins and mix them in as well. And you should be able to feel what bread is dry and what bread is kind of soaked up the butter. So let's get to business. Let's stuff this baby. So Thanksgiving was made a national holiday in 1863 by Abraham Lincoln himself, presumably before he was assassinated. So you just want to take generous handfuls of the stuffing and get it right up in there. Right now there's still plenty of room. This is a decent sized bird, but at least in America, turkeys can be massive. You can get a bird easily 2 times this large, although this will certainly feed for several days after. So I'm starting to find the back of the cavity here, and I want to get it pretty full. And now we're going to make a rub for the turkey. So this involves having some melted or warmed butter, some sage, rosemary, salt, and pepper. And now we want to separate the skin of the turkey from the body of it. So you want to get your hand underneath the layer and do your best to work your hand under the body of the turkey. Start taking spoonfuls and placing it inside the cavity. The first thing I want to do is just kind of get it in there. I'll worry about spreading it out evenly in a second. So we're going to use the leftover of this rub on top of the skin later. This helps to produce a very savory and also crispy skin. If you accidentally break the skin and the skin splits, don't worry about it too much. You can always tie it back together with twine if you'd like, do your own surgery, or to be honest, leave it open and just make sure to baste it a little bit more. And you can take this and just rub the rest on the surface here. Now that we're at this stage, we can start to preheat the oven. So with this recipe, we want a high temperature at first, and then we're going to turn it down for the latter portion of the baking. By the way, this is actually important. So you can preheat your oven to around 450 or 500 degrees Fahrenheit, which hopefully in the subtitles you'll see the Celsius equivalent. So at first, I'm going to put this directly onto a rack. So this allows the juices to drip out of the turkey without making the bottom all soggy and whatnot. So they're going to drip onto this drip pan on the bottom. So right now I have it on a high temperature, about 230 Celsius, and I'm going to keep it like this for about 30 minutes. Goodbye, my friend. And now we wait. So let's move on. So now we'll prepare the cranberry sauce. So cranberry sauce is an essential part of Thanksgiving as well. I can't really imagine having a meal without it. It's a sweet side that pairs well with turkey. So we have about 600 grams of cranberries. We're going to take the zest of one orange, as well as a copious amount of sugar and some cloves. We're only going to use about 3 or 4 cloves. This is plenty of orange peel to add, okay? And so you can add a little bit of orange juice as well. And this can help for flavor as well as to thin out the sauce as well. 3 or 4 cloves. For this amount of cranberries, let's add about that much sugar. When it's on the pan, we're going to reduce it as the cranberries will release all their water. And we can, if it doesn't taste sweet enough, we can always add more sugar. It's hard to take sugar away. And so now we'll just take this and transfer it over to the pan. And if it seems dry as well, you can add a tablespoon or 2 of water to the mixture. It should be cool when serving. There we have it. And some chicken bouillon. And if you don't have time, you could just use a bouillon cube and prepare your chicken broth that way. And so now we're gonna add some turkey liver and turkey heart to some chicken broth in about 3 cups of broth, and just let that simmer for 45 minutes to an hour, however much time you have. And last, we just need to prepare the potatoes. So I've already boiled them. We just need to add the milk, the garlic, minced garlic, a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper. My version includes the peels. So I challenge you, even though it sounds weird, to keep the peels on when you mash them. It produces a slightly different variant. And for me, this is sort of very reminiscent of my childhood recipes. And here we are with our finished product. We have our mashed potatoes, turkey, cranberry sauce, and gravy. It took me about 6 hours to make all this, so personally I'm quite ready to eat. And if you'd like, right, for our next episode, you can comment in the comment section and we'll consider making a dish. Christmas is coming up. All right, thank you and happy Thanksgiving. Let's eat.